Hi. So yeah, I want to talk about something that makes me really angry, and I'm just going to get straight into it. It's about other people's perception of what success is on social media, and we are seeing something that I've seen for, well, about 17 years. When brands started getting involved in Facebook pages, it was about 2009, 2010, and it was the gold rush of who can get the most amount of likes. It was an incredible time to be working in social media, let me tell you that, where every brand wanted to have more likes and followers than the other brand, and it didn't even matter if it was a competitor. I remember sitting in meetings with very big brands, I'm not going to mention their names now, talking about wanting more followers than Nike, Apple, Adidas, and they were not in that field at all, not in that space at all. They had no business to be in that environment. They couldn't create content like that, and they didn't have the customer base. They weren't in that world, they weren't in that realm, but that's what their target was. They never said to me, and I don't think, I can probably count like the conversations I've had with people that have talked to me like that on one hand. People that have come to me and said, Jason, we want to get our social to get more sales. It just doesn't happen. And it's so scary that does not happen now. I think people are in this sort of mindset or this frame of thinking, and it comes from years of buying probably the wrong products and services. They've bought content from creative agencies, or they've bought content from copywriters or freelancers or small agencies that specialize in social media, and they've just been on a retainer for what they can afford to just throw away. That's basically it. If they can afford to throw away $2,500 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and they can spend that on content, and it's just about, let's just keep the lights on. And they like the team that they work with. They like the reports they get at the end of the month. And, they might get a few email sign-ups, and they might get they might even get a couple of inquiries. But really, it's about just, we've got to keep the lights on with all this stuff. And that's how big brands used to think in 2009, 2010. I was trying to change their minds in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2016, 17, to get them thinking about, look, this can be used as a revenue channel without sacrificing anything else. You don't have to be salesy to sell on social media. You don't have to come across, you don't have to spam everyone, you don't have to be annoying, you don't have to make it look like you're trying too hard, or all the things that you're scared of, because other people that you're still looking up to, the other brands and the other businesses and the people that you think are doing well are not doing well at all. I tell you now, they are having a nightmare, and they are having these thoughts that I'm going through this here now. They are thinking, should we do another month? Should we just turn it off? Because there's so many brands I've spoken to, so many businesses, so many startups that just don't, in the last 18 months, that just don't even think that social is a revenue generating channel. And it just it's mind blowing to me that they don't think of it in that way. It's just a lead generation, like an email capture. You just do top of funnel, and it's lead generation and email capture, and you can't do sales. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because there are ways to be able to do it. And I want to talk about some of the ways to be able to do it. Because I want to give you tangible takeaway stuff that you can go and use and start implementing. Start talking to your social media team, start talking to your agency that you're using, the copywriter that you hire, about what you can do to be able to, turn social into a revenue generating system without losing any of the other stuff. Like, your content is the constant, that's going all the time. But what you should be thinking about, what I've always been thinking about, and what I continue to always be wrestling with, is what can we do, how can we utilize the channel, the platform, to be able to get more customers, to be able to get more clients. How can we speak to people? How can we have conversations with people? How can we turn those likes and engagement and meaningless metrics, how can we make them meaningful? How can we have more conversations with people like that? So I'm going to talk about something that's very, very simple, very, very basic. I'm trying not to hit the camera again. And maybe it will just kind of make you think a little bit differently about all this stuff. There is, just to give you some metrics around it, I've been working a lot on X before I started GrowthStack earlier this year. And I've been helping businesses on X, and it's the hardest platform in the world to do business. There is no doubt about it. And historically, if you were going to set up an agency on Twitter 10 years ago, I'd have told you to get out of town. Don't do it, because it is a really tough environment. And it's tough for a few reasons. There's the legacy stuff about people who've been on the platform for a long time. They've built up massive audiences. They've also got problems with their distribution because their followers aren't active anymore. It's basically got a whole new audience plugged into a legacy platform. So there's that's a problem right now. So you may have 200,000 followers, but I know for certain, because I've done the checks and ran the data and gone through people's profiles and ran systems through all that stuff, that they might only have 10,000 people that are active right now. So if you've got 10,000 people that are active right now and 200,000 followers, you're going to get low engagement because the engagement rates don't figure. And to the algorithm and to the distribution network of X, it just doesn't add up. It looks like something's wrong. And when your content is when you post your content, it's like everyone will tell you like the first hour is the most important. Well, if those 10,000 people aren't active, and they probably won't be in that first hour, because the sort of trends and usage habits of X have changed as well. People aren't there for events. People aren't there for watching the news. People are there to keep up with what's happening before the news breaks anything. It's like a precursor to what's going on in the world. It's like a live chat room for everything that's happening right now before anyone else reports on it. So it's really difficult to do business there. And I've been able to help some businesses that were forward-thinking, brave, and had some ambition, and was able to put systems in place for them directly to be able to generate $5.5 million in the last 18 months or so. But that is a small percentage, and I'm being completely honest, a small percentage, and I wish it was more, of people that had paid for my expertise, had paid for my time, had paid for me to go through systems and processes with them, but then didn't implement it. And it's probably still about 90-10. And that's terrible. And not many people will talk like that because, it looks like it's a bad reflection on me, but it's got nothing to do with me. I've come to terms with it's got nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with the individuals executing the work. Because the people that did do it were no different to anyone else that I'd worked with. They were just in a position of we've been doing this for too long this way. We need to figure out a different way of doing it. We need to give it a shot. We need to give it a try. We need to go all in on this and make it work. Now, they may have had like, times where it was a difficult time in their business and they were forced into doing something new, or they just had enough of paying all these other agencies and all these other people all this money, and they just needed a new way of doing it. So that revenue and the revenue that was generated in that time shows that the systems works. They're bulletproof. They always work. They will always work forever. It's evergreen systems, but it's just about thinking a little bit differently. So I'm going to talk about, one of the ways that that's done. And I've got like a whole system about this and a whole routine for X, for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for TikTok, for all social platforms. And it's about systemizing your audience, systemizing your action, systemizing what you're doing on the platform to be able to make sure that every day, every week, every month that you're getting sales from the activity that you're doing. And it's not just about keeping the lights on with the content. So I think I'm going to get a whiteboard soon and start writing things out and drawing on it. And I've decided not to edit these videos anymore. I'm just going to post them raw, because I think it gives a truer reflection about who I am and what I'm about. And if you kind of sit through some of these and hopefully get what I'm talking about, sort of start to see things differently, want to have a conversation about how I can help. Maybe you decide that it's me that you want to talk to over someone else. I promise you, I'm going to stop you from doing all these kind of pointing at stuff, funny routine videos that you see on TikTok and Instagram. I'm going to make you less reliant on all that stuff. And it's just about having smart systems. Now, something no one does, something pretty much no one does, and I've had a lot of success from doing, is about conversation starters with followers. Because the way people follow you today is not the way people used to follow you 10 years ago. They would see one piece of content, they would have one interaction with you, they would look at your profile, and if it all kind of looked all right, then they would follow you. That's not the case today. They need multiple touch points, they need multiple recommendations from the content, they need to see you popping up on their feed often, they need to have had a friend actually tell them to go follow you. The level it takes to be able to get a follower, and I'm talking about a follower who is your ideal target audience type follower, not just some random person, but someone who looks like your ideal target. To get someone like that following you is harder than ever. So when that happens, why are people just leaving it? Why do people just let that sit? Why do people just let that, great, I've got a follower, let's get another one. And that's like the routine of everything. And the agency is thinking the same way, and the third party content provider, they're all thinking the same way. Let's get another follower, get some more engagement. But they're not thinking about the sale. And all you need to do is a very simple conversation starter to start, opening up people to have a conversation with you in DMs about people that have followed you. And it's as simple as having a simple conversation, having a simple conversation opening with someone who's following you. You can go further than that, and you can set up landing pages, and you can have something specific for, hey, I noticed you followed me on X. We've got this, well, actually, we wouldn't say anything like that. It's not about, I noticed you followed me. It's about, this is only for my followers. I've got a special landing page, I've got a special offer, I've got a special piece of content, I've got a special report that goes deeper into the other things that I've been talking about. You liked this post that talked about that. I've got another 10 of these things that can show you some more information about that and how it goes deeper, how it goes further. Here's a video. Without sort of bombarding everyone or those people with all that stuff. It's not about that. It's about having a conversation starter at the beginning, and then trying to lead people into where the next piece is and the next piece is. Because what we've learned over the years is that the singular touch points that people needed before, they don't work now. So they need multiple touch points and need to be on a sort of miniature client ascension program. So they need to be able to see your stuff, engage with it in some way, follow you, and then when they follow you, that is the beginning of when your work starts. That's basically it. That's basically it. Now, there are some other tactics, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. You've probably seen stuff on Instagram with ManyChat, where there's automation sequences. If you type in yes to the comments, within 5 seconds you get this automation thing. Then you have to start answering more questions, and you get the content delivered to you. It's you know, it works and it does the job for big accounts that can't manage all of that stuff, but it does feel very impersonal. And I think we're at a point now where we can do better than that with AI and hyper personalization that we can do with content, with email sequences, with DM sequences, with personalization, without it being spammy and without it being annoying and weird and you know, getting people's names wrong or saying hi first name and stuff like, you know, all of that stuff that everyone listening to this has ever had a bad experience from. You have to put all that stuff away, because we can be much smarter than that now. The stuff that you've seen and the stuff that I see in my DMs is terrible. It's absolutely shocking. I don't see anything good. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've maybe seen 1 or 2 DMs, and I get probably 10 or 20 a day, cold DMs, you know, across all platforms. And I've probably seen no more than 3 that are good. Everything is trying to get me to do something, instead of just having a conversation, or instead of following up on something that they've already liked of my content and taking them to the next step, without it feeling like I'm trying to like push you into something, or you know, confine you into a corner, or you know, push you into a corner. We can't do that stuff anymore. We did all that before and it worked great for a few years, but that stuff doesn't work now. We have to be a lot smarter with what we're doing. But when you take the time to be able to do that type of thing, to be able to start having conversations with people, your social media, you know, your presence, your activity doesn't feel like it's a burden or a chore or something to keep the lights on. It's actually like a networking event, like you're at a networking event. And now, instead, your profile is, instead of being, you know, in the car park, now you're inside the networking event and you're near the coffee stand. So there's a lot more people that come by. And your job is to be able to start conversations with those people without it being cringe, without it being awkward, without it being salesy, without it being one of those conversations that you just want to get out of. We can do much better than that. We can be much smarter than that. The systems that are in place have been copied and have been, because they've been identified as working. The execution is still very, very fresh and very raw and very new, because lots of people don't bother with this. They're so focused on likes and engagement and followers. They're just thinking about their content and when's the next post I'm going to be able to put out. They're not thinking of what's going on behind the scenes. So I encourage you to start thinking about systems and processes and things you can do behind your content to be able to start having conversations with people. You will find that social media it starts to open up as a whole new world that you haven't even thought of in that way before. It's a platform with an endless stream of people that are your ideal target audience if you can go out and find them. You can provide them value and provide them something interesting, useful, entertaining sometimes, but I think there's too much entertainment out there. I think we need to showcase what we're good at, why we did this job, why we started this thing, why we have this business, why we help these types of people. So yeah, I hope that's been useful. I'm really enjoying doing these videos, so I'm going to do a lot more, even if I have one subscriber. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. I'm going to do them for a few weeks and have an evaluation at the end. Maybe I'll keep going, maybe I'll stop before. I don't put too much pressure on myself with stuff like this. But I'm enjoying getting my perspective out there. I'm enjoying getting my thoughts out there, because I know that this is hurting a lot of people. We can do so much more with social than we do right now. We don't have to focus on the content. This is out the content. The content marketing of like 2012 to 2020 or something, where it was just like we've got to be on all the channels, we've got to keep posting content 2 or 3 times a day, we've got to be in all these environments. There's been a lot of overwhelm with that, and I think it just kind of got back to, certainly on places like Instagram and TikTok, just got back to restaurants, local businesses, copying each other. And I don't mean copying each other in their local area. I mean, they would be following other restaurants that they like, that have a lot of followers, and then they'd do the content that they do, because they see the trend, they tag the music, they do all that, they just copy it exactly. And I tell you now, if you speak to the owners of those businesses that you're copying and ask them how many customers they get, they don't know. They don't know. Or it's little. They might get a few people that come in and say, and I'm talking about like the really big accounts that have got huge amount of followers. They will get people that come in and they'll take videos and clips and stuff like that, but that's not every business. Not every business is going to get that, and not every business should have that. Not every business is on social media to achieve that. That's your dream. I'm telling you now that when it actually happens, it's possibly not what you're really looking for. All every business wants is a constant flow of predictable sales that are happening in their business, so that they know on a Monday, if they do X, Y, and Z throughout the week, they're going to be able to achieve X amount of new sales. That's all people want. That's all businesses want. And that's what social media can provide for people. They're just using it wrong. It sounds like I'm a little bit of a lone voice in a massive pond in an ocean of people telling you you got to do this content, you got to use these hashtags, you got to space out the content this way, you got to use these filters, you got to use that music, you got to post at these times. I mean, come on. It's 2020, nearly 2026. We can't be talking about that stuff like that anymore. This is not that time where we're trying to get more reach and trying to get more engagement, and we're not talking to the people that follow us already, or we're not talking to the people that know us already, because people do know us already. We shouldn't be obsessed about getting more of fame or more interest or more. We can do all that. That's a different job. What we need is the actual job of getting the sales happening as more of a priority, and using that as more of a priority within social. So I hope it's made you think a bit. Like I said, I enjoy doing these. If you found this useful, like and subscribe. I'll appreciate it. Drop a comment, come and say hi. And check out GrowthStack. There's loads of information there. There's videos, there's content, there's articles, there's white papers, there's guides, there's news, there's all kinds of stuff. And if you've got a local business, there's some really good ways to be able to help you move forward with systems and processes and automation and AI to be able to help you move your business forward, that very little people are thinking about, because they're so obsessed in this culture of fame and trying to get more of something that doesn't lead to what they think. More engagement, more followers does not lead to more sales. I think that should have been my opening line, but I'm enjoying doing these videos. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks.